All right, let's tackle one of the biggest and honestly trickiest ideas in all of politics, the problem of equality. Now, you hear that word and you think, yeah, simple enough. But as we're about to see, it is anything but simple.
I mean, on the surface, it seems like a total no brainer. Of course, we all agree people are equal. But here's the thing, the second you start to really unpack what equal actually means, boom, you're suddenly in the middle of this huge political and philosophical fight.
And that's really where the battle lines are drawn today. The fight isn't really about if we should have equality anymore. It's about what kind of equality we're talking about. Which version should we be aiming for in our society, in our laws, in our everyday lives?
You know, there's a great term for this broad agreement. Political thinkers call it the egalitarian plateau. It's this idea that pretty much everyone in the modern West starts from the same basic belief. We're all standing on this high ground together, agreeing that people are equal. The problem is, from that plateau, we all march off in completely different directions. So let's meet the main contenders in this fight, shall we?
Okay, first up in the ring, we've got the original champion, the one that really got this whole thing started, formal equality.
So the core idea here is all about procedure. Think of it like a game. Formal equality says the rule book has to be the same for every single player. The law shouldn't care about your background, your race, your religion. It should be blind. It's that really powerful, fundamental idea that justice doesn't and shouldn't play favorites.
And this is not a new idea, not by a long shot. It has incredibly deep roots. You can go all the way back to the 17th century to the philosopher John Locke. He basically argued that, look, we're all human beings, right? Creatures of the same species. So no one should be naturally born to rule over anyone else. And you have to remember, back then, that was a radical thought. It was a direct attack on the entire world of kings, aristocrats, and inherited privilege.
So you can see the huge upside here, right? Formal equality is amazing at tearing down special privileges. It's the absolute bedrock of what we call the rule of law. But is it enough? Critics, most famously Karl Marx, would say no way. He argued it's just a surface-level fix. He even had a name for it, bourgeois equality. I mean, think about it. What good is your right to a fair trial if you're too poor to afford a lawyer to defend you? And that exact critique, that exact problem, leads us right to our second contender. This is the challenger that stepped into the ring to fix the problems with purely formal equality, equal opportunity. Okay, so if formal equality is about everyone playing by the same rules, equality of opportunity is about making sure everyone gets to start from the same place. It's all about that powerful metaphor you hear all the time, a level playing field. The idea is that your success in life should come down to your own talent and how hard you work, not who your parents were or how much money they had. This race of life idea really breaks it down perfectly. Step 1, everybody gets to the starting line at the same time. Step 2, the race begins, and people compete using their own unique skills and effort. But here's the really crucial part, step 3. Some people win, some people lose, the finish line is unequal. But, and this is key, that unequal outcome is seen as fair. Why? Because everyone started at the same place. So this whole idea isn't just about being fair, it's also a way to legitimize the fact that there will be winners and losers. The philosopher John Rawls, a huge figure in this debate, really nailed it. He said the goal is for two people with the same talent, the same ability, and the same willingness to work hard to have the same shot at success. It shouldn't matter where they started from. And you can see why that's such a powerful and appealing idea, right? And the big pro, of course, is that this creates a meritocracy, a society where you earn your success. But this leads to a massive, really difficult question. Is it actually possible to separate someone's natural talent from all the social advantages they've had their whole life? You know, things like great schools, good nutrition, a supportive family. If you can't really untangle those two things, then this whole idea of a perfectly fair, meritocratic race, well, it gets a lot more complicated. And that very complication, that nagging question, brings us to our third and by far most radical contender, equality of outcome. All right, so forget the starting line, forget the race itself. This view is focused entirely on the finish line. The goal here is to make sure everyone finishes the race together, or at least in a pretty similar place. Proponents argue that real, true equality means shrinking those massive gaps we see in wealth, in health, and just general well-being. And the most famous slogan for this idea, of course, comes from Karl Marx. From each according to his ability to each according to his needs. It's a vision of society where what you get isn't tied to what you produce.
People contribute what they can, and they get what they need. It's a total decoupling of contribution and reward. And this is where you see a massive ideological split. On one side, you have supporters who argue that without this kind of equality, you can't have true freedom or a peaceful society. But on the other side, critics fire back with some really serious warnings. They say that if you aim for equal outcomes, you'll crush people's motivation to work hard, leading to a stagnant economy. And even worse, the only way to enforce it would be with a state so powerful it becomes tyrannical.
So this huge clash of values brings us right to the heart of it all, the big question of social justice.
When you boil it all down, the debate is about this one simple but incredibly profound question. How do we gut the cake? Who gets what and why? Is it fair for some people to get these huge slices of society's resources while others are left with just the crumbs? Each of these ideas of equality we've talked about offers a totally different answer to that question. To help us try and figure this out, let's go back to John Rawls. He came up with one of the coolest, most famous thought experiments in all of modern philosophy. He called it the veil of ignorance. Okay, so imagine this. You get to design the perfect, most just society from scratch. But there's a catch. You have to do it from behind this veil of ignorance. That means you have no idea who you're going to be in this new society. You don't know your talents, your social class, your race, your gender, nothing. Rawls' big idea was that from this totally fair starting point, you design a system that takes care of the people at the very bottom. Why? Because you might end up being one of them. So put yourself in that position. What rules would you choose? So when you look at all these different ideas, what you start to see is this deep, powerful tension that really runs through the very heart of modern politics.
And it really boils down to this fundamental trade-off. On one hand, you've got freedom, which includes the freedom to use your talents, work hard, and maybe become unequal as a result. And on the other hand, you've got equality, which, to create more fairness, often means you have to put some limits on that individual freedom.
And so that leaves us with the million-dollar question, doesn't it? It's the question every single society has to wrestle with. Because as we've seen, almost every one of these models accepts some level of inequality. The real challenge, the thing we're all still debating, is this. Which inequalities are fair and which ones are unjust? Which differences between us are just the natural result of our choices and talents, and which ones are injustices that we as a society have a duty to fix?